Hey everyone, welcome to this weekend Sidereal Astrology Forecast. This is for February 8th to the 10th of 2019. Alright, so this weekend we have the moon in Pisces all weekend long. So a really good time for accessing that intuitive side of ourself, connecting to that inner beingness. We are starting to build some momentum in this lunar cycle. We are still in the crescent phase, but moving things forward is great. And so to do that, likely cultivating some of this receptive Pisces intuitive energy is really great in that process. So with this, we have Mercury shifting into Aquarius on Friday. So our minds are certainly going into the more progressive and future-oriented aspects of life, especially because on Saturday, Mercury is going to sextile Uranus. Now, Uranus does rule Aquarius, so it's very much on that same level, where in this case, maybe some unique ideas, some unique perspectives, some new ideas, this kind of stuff that's kind of thinking outside the box, really activated here, I would say. And especially because next week we are going to have Mars going over Uranus as well. So a lot of this kind of progressive, innovative, wanting to induce change type of energy going into next week. All right, so let's take a look at all of this here in more detail when we return. All right, so here's the sky for this weekend. We are going to look at this for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. As you can see here, the moon is in Pisces all weekend long. So this is again in the context that just early last week we started a new lunar cycle, a new lunar month. And so the energies are starting to build some momentum into this weekend. In fact, next week will be really good for challenging ourselves to really ground and initiate a lot of these new things or this new energy that has come into the mix. Now with this weekend though, while maybe building some momentum, moving some energy forward, doing so in this receptive way, right? Pisces is all about connecting to the ethers, connecting to the essences of life and of ourself. So you could say connecting to our spiritual self, our beingness, which involves our intuition, our inner guidance, right? And letting this kind of energy guide us, you could say. So really good for practicing that stuff, as well as just simply faith and trust, surrendering what's outside of our control, and even getting into maybe some creative energy, imaginative energy, dreamy energy, anything on that level that is, of course, still grounded in the present moment is fantastic with the moon in Pisces. All right, so that's the backdrop to the weekend, but we do have some more sextiles essentially from this week. So on Friday, we are still coming off of the Sun sextile Jupiter and Mercury sextile Mars. So with this one, not really a major type of energy, but just a bit of an opening to maybe continue with anything we were maybe feeling a little bit inspired about or hopeful about from Thursday. If there's anything like that, there still is that type of energy. Also, if there's anything involving directness with communication, or maybe some energy to do some learning or reading and writing, this kind of stuff also sort of, available, we could say, for Friday. The energy will be dying down on Friday, but certainly still available. So that's the Friday energy, a lot like the Thursday. And then once we get into Saturday, Mercury is going to be sextiling up to Uranus. So this is important because we do have a lot of Uranus energy, and Mercury is shifting into Uranus this weekend. So where Mercury's has been in Capricorn, which has been a much more grounded sign. And that has more to do with things that require discipline, patience, persistence, which we are still focused on, or at least that's the theme of this lunar cycle at this time with the sun here. But with Mercury shifting into Aquarius, our minds are now going from more of that earthy energy into a more progressive type of energy. So moving forward for at least the next couple weeks, really good for future thinking about things in terms of what can be disrupted or changed in our life to induce change, to induce freedom, but also in the collective as well. You know, Aquarius can, especially with Mercury, can very much be thinking about collective matters, or maybe community matters, or the world at large, or the future in any way. So really good to activate this. I think it'll come naturally, but moving forward, anything that does require this type of thinking can be very supportive for particularly these next couple weeks. Some other things involving Aquarius and Uranus are things like science, technology, the internet, any innovation, humanitarian stuff, right? These kinds of progressive things, really good for that mental perspective there with Mercury. All right, so the reason this is also important is because Mercury sextiles the ruler of Aquarius, which is Uranus. And so in this case, maybe just an opening here, Saturday going into Sunday, for a sort of fresh new perspective on things. Again, maybe wanting some change and some freedom, but likely doing so in terms of maybe some new ideas, seeing things from a whole new perspective. Really good to disrupt our mind and disrupt our normal mode of thinking about things, our thinking patterns. And then again, anything that does involve a bit of that innovation, science, tech, anything like that from the mental side can be great. Also even communication, mixing things up there with that as well. New and different forms of communication. And again, communicating maybe about these kind of future related things. All right, everyone, so that's the most important stuff here this weekend. Now, I do want to mention, though, that as we do get into next week, Mars is going to be getting close to Uranus in Pisces. This conjunction here, so it's going to go exact Tuesday and Wednesday. And so as Mars gets closer to Uranus, this is, again, much like that same kind of energy, but in this case, this is much more about taking action and initiative, maybe to create some change or some freedom. So really good to start to get into this energy. The conjunction will technically still be in Pisces. So with Mars here, it's been very important to live presently and put that energy in the direction of where the flow of life is already going. Again, listening to intuition and putting energy into the flow of life has been important. But now with this conjunction with Uranus, maybe some change, right? Some wanting some freedom. There could be a bit of restlessness, but it's wanting some freedom, some change. And so channeling that into conscious and constructive ways can be fantastic. But I'll talk more on this Tuesday, Wednesday. And this is also Uranus's final transit of Pisces. You know, using the actual size of the constellations here, Uranus is going to start to go into Aries here this early spring. And so this will be the last transit of Pisces for Uranus, which has been more about finding more freedom with presence and faith and trust, and more working with the etheric realms to induce change. But once Uranus goes into Aries, which is much like that Mars energy, it's very much about taking action to induce change, right? And so really good to start to get into that energy as we get into next week. All right, everyone, but this weekend, most important stuff is Pisces as the backdrop, the theme about listening to our intuition, that inner guidance, the receptive flow of life and connecting to that to build some momentum with this early phase of the lunar cycle. And Mercury shifting into Aquarius, our mind going into the future-oriented, progressive part of the sky, especially with a sextile up to Uranus mid-weekend, could give us some unique ideas, and again, that ability to think outside the box. All right, everyone, so have a fantastic weekend. Thank you for watching, and I will see you all on Monday for the daily forecast. Take care.